as we've said before, the agreed upon wisdom is that we're going to win the West Virginia Senate race. That's done. Okay. We're looking good in Montana. Therefore, if we win Montana, we say, hey, we have a 51-49 Senate majority. However, Democrats have planned a very sneaky, last-ditch, Hail Mary insurance policy. I want all of you to listen very carefully about this. This is getting no national coverage, and it's happening in one of my favorite states where all the political drama of the Charlie Kirk Show tends to centralize, in Nebraska. So what's happening in Nebraska is that there is an incumbent Republican senator that you probably don't know of because she's not one that seeks out public attention, but she's a decent person and she's a good person who deserves to get reelected. It is Senator Deb Fischer. Senator Deb Fischer, she's kind of an old school senator where she actually cares about legislating, not going on cable television all the time. She's running for reelection. Should be no problem, right? It's Nebraska. However, the Democrats decided to do something very tricky. They knew that someone running as a Democrat no way could win in the state of Nebraska. Instead, they quietly drafted this guy, Osborne. Now, the name Osborne in the state of Nebraska would be like running someone with the last name of Saban for Senate in the state of Alabama. This guy has no attachment, by the way, to Coach Osborne from the successful Nebraska Cornhuskers football team, but it's a trusted name because people think Osborne, oh, it must be some attachment. But no, it is no attachment whatsoever to the Osborne that won the national championships for the Nebraska football team. This guy is running as a, quote, independent. And since he is running as an independent, he's getting tons of money of out-of-state cash from Soros-linked groups, from Act Blue. They're getting millions of dollars. You got to give Democrats credit. They really think outside the box. And now is the time for us to pay attention to this. A series of recent statewide polls suggest the race is within single digits. In fact, a report last week shows that Osborne is up on Deb Fischer in Nebraska. This guy is a Democrat who's pretending to be an independent. He is a Democrat running in Nebraska who is now about to flip a Senate seat in Nebraska, which could jeopardize all of our chances of getting the U.S. Senate. In Nebraska's second congressional district in Omaha showed Osborne leading Fischer by 11 points. Now, joining us now is a great friend of mine, an American patriot, the chairman of the Nebraska GOP. Eric, I think I did a good job kind of setting the table here. Eric, give us an update on this very urgent matter of how we could lose the U.S. Senate because of this Osborne character who's quietly trying to unseat Deb Fischer.
Well, Charlie, you have given the synopsis exactly right there. When it comes to the point of what's happening in the Democratic Party, they know that they can't win on their values, so they have to manufacture something. They've manufactured a candidate. It's basically a Democrat in disguise, and even more so using a name recognition to try and win. You're exactly right there. And in Nebraska, you would think that this wouldn't be a problem. You assess that as well. We have 615,000 Republicans to 330,000 Democrats, but there's 273,000 independents in there as well. And so here's another key that's out of this whole campaign is if this becomes the model for Democrats trying to win by creating an independent individual there, this is what will start to be repeated in other states. And that's why it's important for your listeners to understand, because this is not just being done one-off. They've done this before. They've tried it in Kansas in 2014, Alaska, Utah. They've tried this. But they're trying it in a state with an opportunity because of the heightened importance of this year's election. And of course, like you said, that means money, money, money. So this is now the time that we have to put more effort into something that you would never expect, because in Nebraska, we obviously have the 2 Senate seats as well, and we have both of them up this year. And this is a purposeful, tactical, political opportunity for the Democrats to use their Democrat money through their Democrat apparatus, Act Blue, Arabellum, and all of that, to win with an independent candidate in one of the reddest states out there.
Everyone listen carefully. Ricketts is going to be fine, right, Eric? I think he doesn't have a similar type issue, correct? So they targeted Deb Fischer because she is not as well known as Ricketts in state. Is that fair to say? Ricketts was governor, and Ricketts has more money that he could plow in. So they targeted Deb Fischer. And Deb Fischer is, again, a very decent person who's actually done a good job, very conservative voting record. Now, this is what is so tricky here, everybody. is that this Osborne guy, he's a total freak, by the way. I'm about to tell you about this. This guy, he likes gay porn. He's like really weird. That's not me speculating, by the way. Daily Mail, inside married Senate candidate Dan Osborne's wild backstory involving gay porn, Ashley Madison, and a gothic exotic dancer daughter. Not exactly Nebraska values. You learn about this guy, you will be so alarmed. You're like, what is going on? This guy has no business in Nebraska politics, let alone serving as a U.S. senator, okay? So, again, it says here, independent Nebraska candidate for Senate Dan Osborne liked gay porn online. Very, very strange for Nebraska values. However, but this is what's important, is that he's going around the state saying, oh, I wouldn't have sent money to Ukraine. I wouldn't have sent money to Ukraine. Now, a vote that I disagree with Senator Fisher is I wish he wouldn't have voted for Ukraine aid. Fine, I can get over it, whatever. A lot of people didn't vote the way I wanted. But Osborne doesn't believe anything. He's just a empty suit for the Democrat Party, but he's going around the state trying to exploit populism for Can you talk about that, Eric? Again, it's all fake. It's all a fraud, but this is their new way of trying to win in red states, trying to capitalize on right-wing concerns against Republicans.
Well, you're exactly right. With the Trump populism that comes out there, you have so much more engaged Republicans there and so much more libertarian-minded individuals out there. So when you have an opportunity, the Democrats saw if they can put this candidate out there and, of course, get the money that allows him to get out there. He's not just in some old beater car that he's driving around going, I-80 to I-80 there. This is the amount of TV commercials, the amount of mailers. Yes. But it's also showing up at county parties and going to their meetings and just acting innocent and saying the things that would resonate with a populist group. But then in the end, exactly when he's talking with the Democratic group, which he's doing, he's saying the words that they want to hear, like, I love Bernie Sanders. So you've got a socialist that's running around, a socialist Democrat running around as an independent here and actually putting the effort at the points of interest like county parties. And this is where the populist group also has to have the relationship of who to trust here. President Trump has come out and endorsed Deb Fischer, was the first candidate, and Senator Fisher was the first candidate in Nebraska to incumbent to endorse President Trump. They have a very close relationship. They support each other through thick and thin. So this relationship should be one thing that already defines for the populist Trump movement who they should vote for. President Trump got 556,000 votes in 2016. There should be absolutely, in 2020, the number is exactly the same. Deb Fischer got 403,000 in 2018. It was an off cycle because it's, again, 6-year races here. She should be able to get the same exact amount of votes as President Trump. And I think she is, if we can get the message out that what somebody says they are, which Dan Osborne is saying who he is not who they are. And it's going to take more money, more time, and more effort for us to make sure that people understand he's an independent, which means he has no platform. He has no set of values that he will actually be able to be bounded to. So now it's just a matter of him trying to win a popularity contest here. Deb Fischer has stood for Nebraskans, for the ag business. She stood for the people of Nebraska through her 2 terms. And
she's great on immigration. I want to be clear about this. She's great on immigration, right? That's the number one issue in the country. She voted for Trump's border wall. Can you talk about that, Eric? She will be a partner for Donald Trump with immigration in the U.S. Senate.
100%. She has already drafted onto a new bill that would help with sealing the border. He has indicated that immigrants should already be given amnesty. He 100% agrees with the Democrat playbook of how to get illegal immigrants into the United States for obviously purposeful agendas in 26 and 28 there. The taxpayers' dollars in his mind are owed to these individuals as they cross the border because they need the better life, not Nebraskans.
So, Eric, just final thoughts here. He's appropriating the Osborne name. That's number one. Mm-hmm. And then finally, Republicans largely outnumber Democrats in Nebraska. As you mentioned, it's not even close. So we just need to bring Republicans home, bring conservatives home. And final point to our national audience, pay attention to this, everybody. We might lose the Senate in Nebraska if we are not careful. Final thoughts, Eric.
Well, what you said in your last segment is exactly correct. We are in the battle of the bulge right now. Every single Republican voter should feel like they're the easy company of 501st, that we should be the band of brothers at this point. And every single way that you can connect to the voters, such as your app, which I put in my newsletter on Tuesday that I put out there, Coffee with Chairman, I promoted that. And now I'm seeing grassroots going, did you know I could just text message 15 people? 2 weeks ago, I sat down with 30 to 40 people of my church and explained policy versus politics to them, not to force them to become Republicans, but to give them the metric of why it's so important to do their civic duty. Most of them are conservative minded. But I took the effort to spend an hour and a half to connect with them, because this is the election that will determine the course of our country. And in every race that we have a Republican, we have to turn out the vote and circle those bullets on down the line.
Eric, you're doing a great job. And when I was there, I think in that room with you in your restaurant in Lincoln, I was watching the Oregon State game, and I saw 3 Osborne commercials. I remember I turned to you, I'm like, this guy doesn't have a chance, does he? And you're like, ah. And look where we are now. We could lose the Senate in Nebraska. Pull the fire alarm. Stay focused. Eric, thank you so much.